All right, everyone. Welcome to a sort of episode of The Roundhouse. Uh, I'm sure that Fox will have plenty of names to call this at some point or another. But we're going to do a little post NCAA recap discussion with a couple of our writers here myself, Jarrett, E-Train, Felix, Garrett Zatlin, and Alex, Elise Cranny, Fox. So. Let's get this started right away. I'm gonna pick the first question and send it to Garrett. Donovan Brazier obviously had a fantastic race, ran 143.5 to win the 800 title. He had said going in to the meet that he was going to run USA Juniors over the Olympic trials. Now things potentially might have changed after running the fastest time in the United States this year. Garrett, what do you think he should do, USA Juniors or the Olympic trials?
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that he should do the Olympic trials. It just makes sense in basically every account. He made the argument in an interview that, hey, they still run really well there. They still run very fast. They run 144 last year. But when you look at it, look what happened to Clayton Murphy. The guy went out there. He got championship experience against big-time guys, big names, was able to get experience on the big stage, and was able to get another idea of what it is like to race through rounds. And we saw that Donovan Brazier can do all of that. Why would you not pursue the Olympics? It's right now you're in your prime, and what's to say that he's been improving all season too. So I really like the idea that what's to lose? What's to lose? At least he just gets the experience out of it. So Brazier, definitely Olympic trials.
Yeah, I'm gonna 100% agree with that. And it's because Donovan Brazier, he's hit everything on that checklist. He's the fastest American junior of all time. He's got the American collegiate record. He set it by almost a second. And then he's the eighth fastest American all time, just in the 800, no age requirement at all. So it's not a matter of, oh, he can get this competition at well, he's competing at the Olympic level right now. 143.55 is an Olympic time. He needs to go to the Olympic standards to see how he measures up against the pros and make decisions for the next couple years. Because the notion that we're going to see this guy in the NCAA for the next 3 years is ridiculous to me. He's a pro runner right now.
Well, I think this is an interesting question, and while I do want to see him in the Olympic trials personally, the argument that I would make for juniors is he's going to go into that race as a huge favorite, and assuming that he runs there, doesn't have a fall or a trip or something, he's pretty much a lock to make that team. Even as good as he's been this year, I'm not sure he's a lock to make the U.S. Olympic team, considering some of the experienced guys, some of the other really talented guys. We saw Boris Berian last year. He was the favorite coming in, having run 143, but he didn't even end up making the U.S. team. Didn't even end up making the final. It's 3 rounds at USA's. It's really tricky, and if he ends up skipping U.S. juniors to run U.S. seniors and then ends up missing the team, then he's shut out of everything. So although he would gain experience, he would miss out on a chance to compete on a U.S. team and potentially get a gold medal in the junior championships.
But I'm just going to interrupt real quick. If
Yeah.
if you think about it, all right, are you really going to say, yeah, I had the chance to run at the Olympic trials, gain experience as a freshman, despite being in my prime, and then you make the U.S. Olympic team for juniors? Okay, he wins, great. I don't see the benefit in that. There's just no benefit. He gets the experience, and then Clayton Murphy, dominant after he got that experience. Also, going back, Fox, you don't think you think how deep, how long do you think it is until he goes pro? Because I'm happy with one race, I'm happy with an American lead, but uh, pro all of a sudden from 145 to 143, when would you see that?
I see him at Texas A&M for 2 more years. I think he will, like Clayton Murphy, leave after his junior year. And going back to the question at hand, we talk about, he gets the experience of being on this team if he goes for U.S. juniors and makes the team. I don't see the benefit. Yeah, he puts on the USA uniform, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption he'll be wearing that at some point in the future. He's gotten everything he needs out of junior racing. It is time for him to measure himself against the pros, and the only way he can do that this year, right now, when he's got all the momentum in the world, is Olympic trials, the ultimate measuring stick for U.S. running.
All right. Well, do we want to move on to the next one? Because I think that's probably what we're going to end up doing. All right. This has kind of been, something I've been thinking about. Who would have won at the Olympic? I'm sorry. Who would have won, Brazier or Murphy, had Murphy run the 800? Murphy was dominant. He just couldn't lose. And now Brazier drops 143. Jarrett, we're going to just go back to you, man. What do you think? Who wins?
Well, I love Clayton Murphy. I had the opportunity to interview him at some point for our site, which was really cool, really nice of him. But I think that just honestly, 143 is just kind of on like a different plane from what we've seen from Clayton. I know Clayton ran 145 last year. That was a pretty big PR at the time. I think he dropped like 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds off his PR. I think he was like a 147 low guy and then became a 145 guy over the course of the U.S. trials. But it's only the 2 rounds. The race went out very hard with McBride gunning it out, and Brazier had a big gear, but also he had a huge third 200. I think he ran under 26 seconds for his third 200 on the official splits, which is just a crazy split at the hardest point in the race. I think that he would have just put the hammer down, and I don't think Murphy would have been able to catch him at the end off that type of pace.
So here's the thing. Brazier showed a lot of strength that third 200, but Clayton Murphy ran 336. So he's got the strength. I think he stays with Brazier that third 200, and I think they both run faster than 143.55, pushing each other at the end. And I think Clayton Murphy wins that race. He beat Boris Berrien this season, and then Boris Berrien ran 143 at pre, and is probably considered the best 800 runner in the country at this point. But I would go so far to say that Clayton Murphy could be considered the top American 800 runner at this point. I know he hasn't run anything that fast, but look at what he's done as far as range. That 145 isn't wildly impressive, but he ran that when his PR on the 1500 was 340, I think, and then he runs 336. So I'm thinking he's in that race. He's got the speed. We know he got the speed. He closed at 336 and 55. He's got the strength. I don't see him losing at the collegiate level, and that's why he went pro, in my opinion. He didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna agree with you there, Jarrett. We're just gonna team up on you all day, sorry to say, dude, but like Clayton Murphy has been dominant. Fun fact about that 1500, and I preached it in the group message we have going on, but he hasn't lost a 1500 since 2014. Now, what does that mean for the 800? It means that he's dominant. It means he doesn't lose. He's a winner. He won NCAAs and indoors pretty easily. I don't want to say anything like that is easy, but he won somewhat in a comfortable fashion, and then he goes out. Didn't really pursue the 800 all that much. Maybe it was just the deep, the depth of the field that was going on there. But I agree with Fox. 145 at a point where he kind of could run faster, showed incredible amounts of strength later on. I agree. I say he can cover that last lap. I can say he closes a hard 300. And I don't know if they would, how much faster under 143.5 they would go. But I do agree that I think he would be capable of taking down Brazier. So, yeah.
I can't believe you guys both think that after 143.5 that just everyone they could go faster. It's like 143.5 is one of the top 10 U.S. marks ever. And so, I know that Barrion ran 143 last year, and that kind of came out of left field. Now Brazier drops all the way to 143 this year. So they both end up in the 143s kind of out of nowhere. But 143 is really hard to run. It takes, some of the best talents in U.S. history to get there. I know that Murphy's been a winner, but 336 isn't even the Olympic A standard for the 1500.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have the Olympic A standard yet. 143 is, the American junior record. It's number 3 in the world right now, behind a couple Kenyans at altitude, I think. So, I mean, it's an unbelievable time, and I think it just deserves the respect that it should get as being this unbelievable time. And Clayton would have to drop another 2 seconds off his PR to get down there. That's a lot of time in the 800.
Gotta put some respect on that name. So,
for me,
go ahead.
I mean, I'm gonna address this later about why I think I have to give Murphy the edge, but it's nothing to disrespect Brazier. What he did is, totally unprecedented. But, it's sort of hard to say without having seen Murphy run an 800 very fast in a little bit. But when we've seen him run, regardless of the event, he's looked so good, So it's hard for me to pick against him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know how many times he's lost, but it has not been very often at all. I can't remember the last time he actually lost a race. So, 143, yeah, respect, but I don't know. I still see him losing anytime soon. So, yeah.
All right. So let's change gears a little bit. Obviously, NCAAs were great this year. We saw, obviously, the 143. We saw 336. We even saw fast steeple and 5K. But it wasn't great for everybody. So I'm going to ask about the most disappointing race. There's Caleb Hoover, who I thought had a great shot to compete in steeple. Wasn't even in the race in the finals. There was Tommy Awad, who we all talked about a lot. Wasn't even in the race for the 5K. There was Hector Hernandez, who had just an amazing track season, indoor and out. Doesn't make finals for the 800, which is incredible considering he's like a time trialer. And then you got Futsum Zanathilasi, runs sub-28. It's talked about how he doesn't like, the sit-and-wait racing. Goes and does that, loses to Ches. And then, of course, we have Garrett Zatlin in the steeplechase in our prediction contest putting up 45 points. So let's go to you, Garrett. Which race was most disappointing?
It's the race that destroyed me in the prediction contest. No, actually, I'm actually going to avoid Caleb Hoover on that. But, I feel like this is probably where most of us are going to go. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it has to be Tommy Awad. Runs 337, dominates all season, or at least runs really well, shows signs of incredible fitness. We go back and forth of, I think, 2 or 3 Roundhouse episodes where we're saying, well, he could go 5K, he could go 1,500, doesn't matter, he's an All-American either way. He's so good at this, and even Fox and I agreed, hey, it's going to be the 5K where he hits his prime, and that's where it's going to be, and then he gets third to last, and it's like, oh, okay, so maybe that wasn't it at all, and then you think about to last year where he ran the 5K and he was a DNF. So looking at it, I'm thinking, dude, where is he going to come up in the finals? Where is he going to show up at NCAAs? And besides XII and I guess indoor, so I guess looking to outdoors, it hasn't really happened, and it's a bit disappointing for someone who's so talented and has competed with some of the best names.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, personally, I actually didn't. One of the few things that I got right during the predictions, I didn't have Awad in the All-American positions. When I did my predictions, I was just a little worried about his inconsistencies in the past and a little nervous about the 5K. I'm actually going in a different direction. Go figure. Fox will probably pick Awad too. I'm going with Futsum Selassie, and he did have a really great race. This is one of his best NCAA finishes that he's had in his career. The problem is you look at the races this weekend, there were so many gutsy performances. You look at the guys in the 5K like Tiernan, They pushed the pace. They made it hard. Cheswick was all over the place with his Raptor class at the end of the race. You look at Furlick basically falling over, getting through the line. Yorks and Win in the 1500 going out in 56. All these guys just went for it on race day. They left with no regrets. Footsum is up against Cheswick. He hasn't been, racing very well. Who knows how much of a base he has based on the injuries and the time missed. It seems like the 10K might be the place where he's most vulnerable. Footsum's got a huge PR advantage. He's sub 28 this season, and they just let it go slow. I mean, the race just wasn't fast enough, and Cheswick just did Cheswick stuff, and I just would have liked to have seen it, be a more honest race like all the other races, which were fantastic this weekend.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with Footsum. I'm a big fan of his, and I really thought he was just going to take Ches to the house and just pull away and do something that we've never seen before. But I was a little disappointed. But I pulled a fast one on YouTube. I'm going in a totally different direction. And I didn't talk about it because I didn't want anybody to steal it because I'm really proud of this one. But my most disappointing race for an individual or a team is going to be the 1500 for the Oregon Ducks. They had to have their sights set on another national title. Edward Cheserek did his job. He got 20 points. They had three guys who all could have scored in the 1500. Sam Brickell, Matt Maton, Blake Haney. Blake Haney is a returning All-American. He'd struggled at conferences, comes back to NCAAs, makes finals, not even in the race. Matt Maton, who dipped below 340 at conferences, doesn't make finals. Sam Brickell is the only one who comes through. Sort of the last name you'd expect coming into this season. Scores, I think, 5th in the 1500, but just a total loss of points and pretty much eliminating Oregon from contention for another national title. So from a, big scene aspect, I think that if you're thinking about a team title, you got to look at that 1500 where Oregon's saying, yeah, we had to do better there if we wanted to win. And I think that's the big picture of the team title.
I really like that pick. That's a good pick. But also, can we just harp on the fact that Footsum was, I don't ever want to call a runner stupid, because that's just mean, and that's just a terrible thing to say. But what goes through your mind when you let the pace go that slow? You gave him the race. He knows it. He knows he gave him the race. Why would you not take it out faster, even for the first mile or two? It blows my mind why Footsum did not take that race faster. It wasn't a disappointing performance necessarily, and you look at his overall career, but I'm with Jared here. What goes, why would he not do that? I don't know. I thought about that the entire race. So.
The flip side of it, if he runs fast and loses, we're sitting here saying, oh, what's Footsum doing? We haven't seen Chez's kick all season. Just try to outkick him. You ran, 357 inside. So it's easy for us, being analysts to say, oh, why'd you do that? But he lost, and no matter how he lost, I think we all thought he was the favorite. So no matter what he did, we would have been disappointed.
But we've seen it before.
I think he should have won the race.
We've seen it before, dude. We've seen this happen every time, regardless. And you to say at regionals that his kick wasn't back. We saw at regionals, saw it at conferences. Dude is still just as good. I can't just help but think that how could he not? That's just me, though. That's just me. Jared, look what you did. Now you got me all fired up, all right?
Sorry. As long as we don't talk about Andre Soroya, we'll be fine.
Don't even get me started, dude. Don't even get me started. Not Andre Soroya. All right.
All right. Well, changing the subject and moving to prevent any outbursts here, we're going to go in another direction that's also, I guess, kind of a somber direction. Looking at Sean McGorty, he's had this fantastic career so far, running sub 1330, running a 353 mile indoors. It's a big anchor split at PSU, but he's just coming up just short of all the big wins. He doesn't have that gold medal hardware in his trophy case yet. So my question is, what do you see for the future of Sean McGorty? Is he just going to be cursed forever with bad luck, or is something big going to happen to this guy in the not too distant future?
Who did you want go? Who did you want go? There
Um,
you go.
I'll jump in. So this is hard, you know. Sean McGorty's he had a fantastic season. He's had a really, really strong career, and for us to sit here and say, "Oh, this is bad," it's not his fault. He's running behind Edward Cheserek, and that's just how it is. Somebody has to play second fiddle to the king, you know. And unfortunately for Sean McGorty, he's running at a time where Edward Cheserek is dominating the NCAA. And next year, if he's back at Oregon, he's going to dominate the NCAA. And then after him, probably Drew Hunter. So it's nothing in Sean McGorty's control. What he can do is continue getting better and go into the pros and hopefully continue getting better there and make an Olympic team. But as far as his collegiate career coming up short, I'm not buying that. Just he's doing an incredible job with his training. We've seen improvement, and that's about all you can ask for. And as for the mile times, he splits 3:55, he loses. He runs 3:53, he loses. He's not a miler. He's a 5K runner. He broke 13:30 twice. That's really, really incredible. You don't see that a lot. And unfortunately, he took second at NCAAs. He was the fastest collegian the first time he ran 13:30 or sub 13:30. So it is what it is for Sean McGorty. On to bigger things, on to better things.
I'll agree with you to a certain extent. Yes, he's racing against the best competition. He's racing against a town where Edward Cheserek is the best we've ever seen ever. But when you look at the big picture, what is the common theme that we've constantly seen with Sean McGorty? You look at, I think it was Wisconsin in cross country, outkicked by Justin Knight and Mark Scott. Thought he had it, didn't. Go to indoors. Let's see what happened. He raced the 3K against Justin Knight. Justin Knight barely outkicks him by 0.1. You go to NCAAs. Edward Cheserek outkicks him in the 3K. Hey, wait, what would happen before that? Oh, wait, that's right. Brandon Kidder outkicked him on the DMR. Geez, are we going to go all the way now to the spring season where we saw, again, it was the Stanford Twilight Meet, gets outkicked again in the 1500. Isaac Yort's back to the indoor season, outkicked despite running 3:53, and now he's outkicked again at NCAAs. There's a common theme. The kid doesn't have a kick, or at least he does, but everyone else is a lot better. Fix it. Fix it. He could be winning. That's like 6 races I just mentioned that he could be winning, that he could have a gold medal, and he doesn't have the kick that some of these guys have. He has to develop some kind of stronger kick or leg speed. Unbelievable talent. If he goes pro, which I think he will, he'll be one of the best Americans out there, but needs to develop a kick. So that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like he's just missing that extra gear. He kind of reminds me of another Stanford runner who I'm a big fan of, Chris Derrick, in the fact that he's consistently putting up really strong times consistently at the top of the fields, but just hasn't been able to come away with that NCAA championship, just like Derrick didn't get one. But Derrick turned around, went pro, won a U.S. championship in cross country, so he has had some success on the next level. And as of right now, I mean, Cheserik's not a U.S. citizen, so in some respects, you don't have to deal with that if you move on to the U.S. level, for now anyway. But I think what I like the most about McGorty is that he's kind of had a consistent, steady progression year over year, and I think that should hopefully bode well for his future. And maybe one day he'll move up to the 10K and something cool will happen then. Who knows?
Are you saying he runs the 10K next year?
I don't think he will, but I mean he's run 3:53 for the mile, so it's not like he's slow. Like he just
Yeah, I get that. That's fair.
I think it's exciting to think about what him and Fisher could do next year if they both continue to improve. You're looking at 2 guys in the top 5 at NCAAs for cross country, I think.
Yeah. How high do you guys think Fisher could place at cross nats next year?
Footsum's returning, I think. Yeah.
Hmm.
So Footsum and Ches are both there. Knight's there.
I'll give him. I even think he could beat Knight. I'll give him as high as third, as low as. Well, I think anyone can blow up on any day. I'll give him as high as third.
I mean, I said top five. I'm sticking to that. He was what, sixth in the 5K? That's a pretty good measuring stick. He ran 13:30. How about Morgan McDonald though? How is he going to do in cross country now?
Yeah.
What did he run? He ran the 3:29. Oh,
We are
what?
getting off gears
Oh
asking this
yeah.
question, Garrett.
Sorry, I got distracted. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next one.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm gonna go back to Clayton Murphy. Yeah, which event did we? I don't think we said this. Which event should Murphy pursue at the Olympic trials? 8 or 1500? Fox, what you got?
All right, so this is what I want to address. If I had to put money on any American runner running the 800 at Olympic trials to make the Olympic team, the safe money is on Clayton Murphy. And that's why I have to pick him over Brazier, because I think he's the best half miler in the US right now. And you can't be the best and lose to a 19-year-old. So let's go through everyone. There's Sowinski. He's pretty safe. But for the sake of this question, let's say that Boris Berrien has more natural talent given that he's run the third fastest time in American history. There's Boris Berrien. Very, very fast, very talented, wee bit inconsistent. And then you have the man who is consistent and has beat Boris Berrien before Boris Berrien ran 143 at pre, and that is Clayton Murphy. He's shown he can get through rounds. He's shown the strength. We know he's in shape right now. We just know that. We don't know what kind of 800 shape. I'm guessing pretty good because I think the plan all along run the 800 at Olympic trials. That's why he hit the A standard. I really, really think he is a lock for this Olympic team if he runs the 8. And that is why he will be running the 8 at Olympic trials.
Well, I'm sure both of you guys who think Clayton Murphy can run like 142 are on board with Clayton 800. I I will say that I really like what I've seen from him at 1500 this year, and I know that that's what he wanted to focus on this year because he was talking about that even last year when he was running 145 and making the World Championship team at 800 meters. He was talking about how the goal is to be the next Weeding, the next Robbie Andrews, have that 800 speed, 800 skill, but combined with his natural strength ability and run the 1500, which is going to be right in his sweet spot. I think that's his best event long term. The 800, he can definitely be good on the U.S. scene, but I don't see him as a world-class 800-meter runner quite at the level that you guys do. I think that he definitely could make that team, but I think it's more important for his the 1500, and he could make that team as well. He just dominated at Portland, defeating guys like McNamara, who is I mean, Jordan McNamara's ran 334 for 1500 before. Centrowitz has been dinged up. Robbie Andrews, we know, can be streaky. And really, besides those two guys, I haven't been impressed with anybody else at 1500 this year, with all due respect to that field. So, assuming he can find a way to get the A standard ahead of time, I think he should run the 15.
I'm going against everything that I said earlier, and like I'm usually like I feel like I'm pretty reasonable in my like logic. Besides the Chris Hatler pick for regionals, like I usually have some reasoning behind my picks, but I gotta say 15, and for the sole reason that I've literally been saying almost every other day in the group message that we have. Hey guys, remember that time when Clayton Murphy lost to 1500? Neither do I, because he's been undefeated in the 1500 since 2014, exactly, actually over 2 years. He is now in his prime in the 1500. No, he doesn't. I don't think he has the A standard yet. I think we said he doesn't have the A standard. No, he doesn't. So, but he just dominated a Portland field Easily ran 3:36 again. What is it? 2 days after he ran another 3:36. That's really impressive. I think he can. I think he gets there. I think he can run a fast time. He doesn't lose. He doesn't lose. He reminds me a lot of Robbie Andrews, kind of right now. Maybe not quite at that level, but he doesn't lose. And with that reason, I can't see why he would run the 800. That is a little bit more deep. I think when you look at the 1500, you got Matt Centrowitz, you got Robbie Andrews, and that's a little bit more open. 800, you got Sawinski. Simmons continues to impress us despite his age. Jock, Berrien, Drew Wendell just ran an incredibly great time. Ran well. But regardless, I think he has a better shot at the 1500 than he does the 800. So despite the ability to run 143, I think he goes 1500. So that's what I got there.
As far as the fields go, like everybody you named in the 800 field for me outside of Sawinski is a huge question mark. I think Berrien is gonna make the team. He's too talented not to. Come on.
Right. No,
but we don't know about him through the rounds. Charles Jock, Drew Windle. Listen to that name. Does that sound like an Olympic runner or somebody who makes
I don't know, man.
birdhouses?
You might as well just get on the track and race him because I watched him race at Portland and he was dominant. So he ran it easily. I'll just say that. Oh, Kaz Loxam. I didn't even mention Kaz Loxam. Yeah, Kaz Loxam. Throw it out there, man. Brooks Beast looked good.
Oh, forgot, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Kaz.
Really good. Yeah,
but in the 1500, like, Centrowitz is going to the Olympics as a member of the 1500. It's that, write it in stone.
Right.
So you got two spots. Leo Manzano is an Olympic silver medalist. I don't think he's in great shape right now, but I would not pick against him. He's just one of those guys. And then you've got Robbie Andrews, who's
Did you bring Leo Manzano?
Streaky.
No way. You brought Leo Manzano into the picture. What has he done recently? Name the last time he ran a relatively decent race.
I know for like the past decade he's run sub 337 every season. If that's not consistency, I don't know what it is.
No, I'm not doubting it's not consistency.
He's Olympic silver medalist.
What has he done in the past 6 months?
He closes a race?
Okay, but he's also super old and he runs for Hoka One.
What have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You got to impress with
24/7. Well, you've also got Ben Blankenship. You've got Will Lear. I think the field in the 1500 is a little deeper. I think he's been training for the 800. I think he's pulling a fast one on you, Jared. So I say he represents the U.S. at the Olympic Games in the 800. But we'll move on to our last question, and it is, who had the best overall season from start to finish? Obviously, Edward Cheserek has taken home those 2 titles at NCAAs, but he obviously wasn't Edward Cheserek until he had to be. So, that said, one guy, start to finish, who was it, Jarrett?
This is tough. I'm going to try to talk about some people that we haven't really talked about yet. I'm not saying that this guy necessarily had the absolute best season, but I really liked Henry Wynn's season this year for UVA. You talk about the indoor mile championship, awesome race at NCAA's Outdoors. He was silver medalist, I believe, in that race. Put up some sub 340 times throughout the season. Was really clutch at the ACC championships, which is a pretty stacked meet, and he beat guys like Justin Knight indoors. I really liked what Wynn did this year, and I think he kind of improved a lot too. Like, he wasn't a guy that everyone was talking about necessarily going into the season, and then he came out and won that indoor mile and really just made everybody aware of what he could do. Has great acceleration, and I'm really excited. I hope that he gets into the trials. I don't think he has an under 3:38 time, but he might get in by filling the field. And I'd be really interested to see how he competes with the top guys in the U.S. He's still pretty young, still pretty inexperienced, but he's got a lot of talent. I really liked his season this year.
Henry Wynn was a good pick, and despite them being our rivals, I will have to give them credit. So Uh, but I have to go with Mason Furlick of Michigan. Started out the season running 344, complement a 355 split to show that he's got some speed. But then you go later on into the season, he runs 13:37 for a 5K. That is a huge PR. Probably it's about 9-second PR in the 1500, which is impressive when you start getting that low. And then keeps ticking down. 8:27 at NCAAs. Runs just an incredible time, dominant throughout the steeplechase the entire season, basically led every race from start to finish, and you couldn't stop him in the 1500. I'm sorry, the 3000 steeple. Yeah, that was awkward. But hey, the steeplechase, he didn't lose to any other collegiate all season. The only time he lost a steeple race was at regionals. Oh no, I'm sorry, no, he won at regionals. It was only at Peyton Jordan. So this guy was just dominant.
Peyton Jordan.
Yeah, from start to finish. And then also think about it. There was a tweet. I forget who sent out the tweet from the account, but someone tweeted how hey, who needs rabbits? And then started listing all these fast times. But if you look at all those races, you had Isaiah Yorts and Henry Wynn took it out really fast. McBride took out the 800 really fast. 5K, Tiernan and Curtin took it out really fast. The only race that was led from start to finish, basically, was Mason Furlick. Mason Furlick was really the one who kind of did it on his true own without rabbit. So Mason Furlick was by far the most dominant and most impressive for me.
Yeah, with Furlick, not only did he dominate every collegiate, he looked right at home with the pros. And it's hard to argue against that. But for the sake of this show, I want to go in a different direction. I really wish that Tommy Awad hadn't blown up like he did at NCAAs, because if he hadn't, that's my pick. He ran 3:37, 13:41, was great at Penn relays, but just forget about that 21st place finish. I think Tommy Curtin had an awesome season. 5K, 10K double at ACCs was a really, really cool thing to see. But for me, I think the most impressive season throughout, Grant Fisher. Going back to him, we all were oh, he was so hype in high school because of flow track. Goes out during cross country, All-American. We're oh, he can run cross country, but that's great. Run 750 for a 3K inside. And we're oh, maybe this kid's for real. 342. We're oh, he was sub 4, it's 342. 13:39. We're oh, he'll run the 5K at nationals. 13:30, sixth place finish. I don't think any of us really could predict just how much better he was going to get, especially after how big the hype was coming out of high school. And he really, really just lived up to it. And that, to me, is he had some of the biggest hype coming out of high school of any runner I can think of. And he really embraced it and thrived. And I think for that reason, his future is really, really bright. I'm really looking forward to the next 3 years where we're going to see him and Drew Hunter square off with the Stanford-Oregon rivalry. So for me, yeah, he didn't win anything that big, but, other than Donovan Brazier and Edward Cheserek, what freshman does. So the element of surprise and the ability to fulfill really, really pie-in-the-sky expectations gives Grant Fisher the nod to me. And coming in a close second was Alex Fox with his win at NCAAs for the prediction contest.
I'm salty. I'm still salty. Yeah, Forrest, hey, FYI, if Forrest is watching this, dude, you had it in the bag, but your 5K was just not so pretty, dude. Dude, I was calculating that. I was there's no way Forrest loses this. And then Fox came out of nowhere with a 20-point score. Impressive, Fox. It was impressive. So
I couldn't have done it without you, Chart Miller. I learned to not trust you.
Yeah,
apparently
bold move
Forrest
Forrest.
didn't.
That was a bold move, dude. So hey, he took guts. He was dominating throughout all the other events. I was for sure he was going to run away with it. So that's impressive. All right. Well, I think that's all we got, guys. I think we're done here.
Yeah. All right. Great show. Quick note. Fact-checking Alex Fox. Boris Berrien ran 1:44.20 at the Prefontaine Classic, not 1:43.
I was wondering.
I'm sure that everyone now go fact check me, tell me all the mistakes I made. So because Fox made that mistake, I'm
There can
forced
only
to
be
award.
one Tony Reale at the end of PTI, Jarrett, and I'm afraid it's just not you.
Hey, I don't make mistakes, man. I'm flawless, so.
Yeah, I'm forced to award Garrett Allen the win here, even though there's it's not really an episode of the Roundhouse.
Nobody
Garrett
gave you
wins.
that authority.
Jarrett, you're a winner in my book, though.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Space Jam. Have a good night, everyone.